Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we drive it home today on this beautiful summer day. It's a wonderful Thursday, and so thrilled to be joined in studio by Jesse Rojo, who you've known as one of my guest co-hosts in the past. We've had him on so many of our shows talking about a wide variety of issues, and now he has a new role. How many roles do you have?
I'm down to one. I was a man of many hats. I've got one hat, and it's a beautiful hat in my defense. I'm for official announcement purposes, I am the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy for Clearbrook, a incredible organization that obviously we'll talk more about today.
Excellent. Well, because really, if you're watching the movie of your life, the credits are so long. Written by, directed by, produced by, policy advisor, and again, the role that we are talking about today is the one that you play at not play. See, it is like a movie. Our lives are like movies.
Play. It's okay.
Exactly. Before we get into our conversation about issues that are really important to families across the state of Illinois, I do want to thank our sponsors. Thank you to our friends at Pride Coffee Roasters. Go to Pride Coffee Roasters and put in an order for some of the best single origin roasted to order coffee beans you have ever had in your life. And they will be at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market this Sunday, and also at the Skokie Market. And if those two are ones you can make it to, by the way, I will be at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market as a volunteer. And the Skokie is a great market as well. And they have other listings for markets that they will be in person for at pridecoffeeroasters.com. They also have bean subscriptions available, so you can have coffee delivered right to your house. And now that I have my own grinder, because they were mad at me, Jesse, for grinding my coffee in a blender.
I was told some stories. It's okay.
Coffee beans. Do you drink coffee?
Yeah, of course. I was in the
That's right.
Army.
We just had coffee together. We were just at Baked by Jane, which is a great coffee shop here on the Northwest Side, and really good coffee. So they do bean subscriptions. They also have a great logo. Like I have a hoodie that says "Sounds Gay, I'm in." Love that. So they've got some great swag available on their website.
Good marketing.
That's right. PrideCoffeeRoasters.com. And thank you to our friends at Source Solar. Go to source.solar, make an appointment with Peter Sorellis. Maybe it's time to get solar panels on your house or business, and he will set you up with that entire process, as well as the partnership he has now developed with Illinois Solar for All, with help with your financing. Go to source.solar. When you go green, you save green, is all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Thank you to our friends at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention for joining us, not only for the Pride Parade, as did our friends from Illinois Veterans for Change. And we are so grateful to now partner with them for Out of the Darkness. Step up and make a difference. Register or donate to the Out of the Darkness Chicagoland Walk, presented by Happiness Project on Saturday, October 3rd at Montrose Harbor. Proceeds benefit the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Register or donate today at chicagowalk.org. We also want to thank our friends at the Chicago Federation for Labor. Of course, the Chicago Labor Day Parade is coming up on September 5th, as is Eddie Fest. Apparently, Bob Ryder will be out there juggling Jell-O and serving slushies that taste like deep dish pizza. That was just some stuff he was spitballing when he was on the air last week. We are so thrilled. There's going to be professional wrestling. There's going to be jugglers, magicians, and all kinds of music and great vendors. That's the Chicago Federation of Labor's parade on Saturday, September 5th. We also want to thank our friends at Minocqua Brewing Company, where we're live streaming now on the Substack. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and maybe put in an order for a 4-pack, couple, 2, 3 of Fascist Tears, because they are delicious and not even salty, which is weird. But you know what is salty is Abolish Ice, because salt melts ice, and that is their Gose beverage offering as well. That's MinocquaBrewing.com. And I do want to let folks know that I will be traveling next week. I'm leaving on Tuesday with my family to Canada. I hope we'll come back. Jesse, I do get nervous sometimes, but the work that you do, I want to tell you that organizations that champion families who are caring and loving somebody who has a disability, we're traveling with 2 people who will have special needs. My mother is 91, and my son has significant disabilities, and you work in this area of making sure families have everything they need. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about this role you have now at Clearbrook.
Yeah. No, of course. As I said, I'm the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy. The best way of putting that is I'm trying to make it so society invests in organizations like Clearbrook. And for those who haven't heard, Clearbrook is an organization that provides services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, people who are our most vulnerable. incredible. And we do that through a variety of ways. I mean, the best way of putting it is that it's individualized care from birth until the end of life. It's anything from early intervention, which me and Patti have spoken about many times before, a program designed for infants and toddlers with developmental delays, to home-based services. I believe Clearbrook, actually, no, I know Clearbrook. I should know by now. Clearbrook is the largest home-based provider in the state of Illinois, to community day programs or employment services, so as to give that extra purpose in these people's lives. And then there's residential mental health. It's so much, but it's essentially client-based services that are holistic in nature, not just supporting them, but their entire family, so that they're able to live up to their potential and thrive. And that's just something that's so desperately needed, because in the disability community, we are in the midst of a silent crisis. I mean, there's a lot of momentum at the state level, which seriously, we should celebrate when you have the opportunity. This last fiscal year, this last budget that we just had passed included some great wins. A 60-cent increase for DSP workers. Those are the workers who are most directly supporting people with disabilities. A $15 million or additional new dollars for early intervention. Something like $84 million for community-based programs. I mean, there's momentum. I mean, literally, we just used to be, not that long ago, Patti sure as heck remembers it, not that long ago, we were the 48th out of 50 nations when it came to disability services. Now we are certainly not, and that is momentum that we are hoping to build on as Clearbrook through our advocacy work. Unfortunately, though, there is other work being done at the federal level that's trying to stifle that. In case folks haven't heard, the federal administration right now is doing a few things. Number one is having to do with the Olmstead decision, which, just to give some context, this was actually a 1999 Supreme Court case that essentially said that there has to be an integration mandate, that we have to provide community-based services unless we cannot. And as a result, we went from something like 1% of people with disabilities getting community-based services to over 80%. That's incredible, not only because it's more humane, it's better for them, and it lets them live up to their potential, but it also saves money, which is always a good thing, right? But now the Department of Justice is saying, no, that was misinterpreted. No, that's no longer enforceable. It's a get out of free jail card for governments to drop the ball and to let our most vulnerable, the canaries in the coal mine, not get what they need. And then add even more on, just recently we had oh goodness, let me look up my notes here. Administration for Children and Families actually proposed rule changes. Fortunately, these are rule changes, just like with the DOJ thing. That's not overturning the Olmstead decision. That's not legislative. This is a proposed rule change with Head Start, which essentially says that the performance standards have to be changed in order to relieve administrative burdens, which sounds fantastic, sounds very much like something I'd support, like most would support. But in reality, what that is that we're removing protections, screening requirements, mental health consult requirements. I mean, just as a few examples of what is proposed is removing the protections around non-discrimination on basis of disability, removing the full accommodation for kids with disability, protection during their evaluations. I mean, it's insane, these two things happening at the same time. It's just sad, because Illinois has really stepped up. We've really invested into these communities. Organizations like Clearbrook are making a difference in the lives of these people. And now we're just seeing a step back, and it's untimely. It's bad overall. It's sad. Like, I genuinely am a man of many words, as the audience has heard me speak before. I'm out of words. I'm astonished. But fortunately, as I said, it's a silent crisis. So let's shine a light on it. Let's make it so it's not silent. Let's make sure that people are aware of organizations like Clearbrook, of the policy work we're doing to fully fund early intervention, fully fund mental health, SILA housing, direct support worker or DSP workers, create an supported employment tax credit. There's so much work to be done, but I'm very happy to have this new role and to engage in doing that alongside so many incredible people.
Well, I'm so thrilled to have someone like you in this position. And I will tell you, you and I have talked before about why I'm involved and how the actions of our previous governor, Governor Rauner, and the cuts that he made. One of the stories I haven't told you was that when I was bringing families down, when I was organizing with families and going down to Springfield so that we could be in the room when people were, I will tell you how cavalier they were about making those cuts. The Republicans were like, they said in committee hearings. So we were in the committee hearings with parents with kids with disabilities, and they said, get over it. They said, get over it. We're moving on. And there was one mother who had been messaging me when I was at another radio station, and she had qualified for respite care, meaning that someone could come in and care for her adult child.
Does that as well, yeah.
Yeah, and the only way she was able to provide for her family, she was a single mom with a daughter who was wheelchair bound, minimal ability to care for herself. And so in order to be able to work, she had respite care in the home. And the week after Governor Rauner made those drastic cuts, and I'm telling you this because this is what's happening nationally now. These are the kinds of notifications that families are receiving.
Families are feeling. It's the fear mothers and fathers have because, again, we have had such incredible momentum. We are genuinely getting the point. Just as an example of how close we are to having a legislative success, it used to, or not used to, it's currently a goal to get DSP workers to 150% minimum wage. We're at something like 140%. We're not that far off. And now we have essentially the very foundations of the work organizations like Clearbrook are doing being attacked. And it's sad, albeit I will say, and there's one beautiful thing when we're talking about, going to Springfield, talking about advocacy, this isn't about persuading people. Don't get me wrong, there's always going to be the bad legislator. There always will be. But in my experience, I've worked in legislation where I do have to persuade, right? Yeah. This isn't that. This is about getting people aware, letting them know that this exists, because once they do, it is just beautiful seeing the passion people have. And one thing I honestly just love so much about Clearbrook, it's community organizing at its very foundation. We actually advocate alongside the clients themselves. We call them self-advocates. They lead the work. They're my boss. And it's just beautiful because it empowers them. And more importantly, it provides that authenticity to the voice of Clearbrook so that when we are speaking with legislators, when we're having them come visit sites, you can see them witness just how much of a difference organizations like us make.
And we need more of that. We need more of that connection because the woman I was telling you about who had lost her respite care and needed that respite in order to be able to work and to provide for her child because of the actions of Governor Rauner and the inability to pass a budget. Now, this was a state that had elected a billionaire thinking he could run this state like a business, whereas government cannot run as a business. It does not run at a profit. The main roles are to provide the safety, the welfare, the infrastructure, education, these kinds of things. It does not run at a profit. And she had to institutionalize her child, which my thinking is because of Governor Rauner's hedge fund investment, including private institutions for people with disabilities and senior needs, was benefiting off of the kinds of choices he was making. And her child, her adult child, to this day, 11 years after those cuts on that Good Friday massacre, is still feeling those effects. And that's what I think is going to happen. It's one of the things that makes it hard for me to imagine my retirement, my own end of my story. I don't feel like I could die in Illinois at the rate we are going because we are still under the influence of what happened under Governor Rauner. And I feel like that could be the case if we don't turn things around now under the Trump administration. No,
it's hard because one thing that people don't really notice is when there's policy failures, like what you mentioned previously, it truly impacts what people's faith in institutions are. I mean, right now, don't get me wrong, we have so many problems in our nation. We're facing decades of a crisis of unaffordability. We have a climate crisis. We have people no longer having faith in institutions, all of these different things. But really what I think is the opportunity with advocacy like what Clearbrook is doing is bringing communities together. Because genuinely, can we blame people for not having faith in institutions when we have institutions that aren't being able to provide our most vulnerable citizens the canaries in the coal mine? I mean, it astonishes me. But that's the chance we have. Really, when we can fully invest in all these different programs I list, all the policy priorities, when we can make it so that a person with disability isn't defined by their disability, but they can thrive and live up to their potential, we can show that government is an instrument of good. And we can do that in a way that brings communities together. And another beautiful thing, and I've only been on this job about a month and a half, I think, I've already seen the unifying nature of this all. I've seen people from different ideological backgrounds come together, legislators from different parties come together because they really do not need persuasion. They just need to be aware of this issue. And that's, I guess, why I'm here today, right, Patti, to let people know what is going on. Seriously, guys, if you have not been aware of Clearbrook, make sure to go to clearbrook.org. Learn about our, we've got a 5K coming up September 19th, I believe. Make sure to check that out. And then obviously go to clearbrook.org/advocacy. Learn about the work I'm doing. Reach out to me and let's, stand up and stand together and stand for something beautiful.
I agree. We are talking to Jesse Rojo, the Public Policy and Advocacy Director of Public Policy and Advocacy for Clearbrook. Let's take a break here, continue our conversation on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Hello to our friends tuning in on KKNW 1150. Hello to everyone tuning in digitally, including Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Please consider subscribing and sharing with your friends and family so they can join the conversation too. And remember, all of our shows are podcasts available at heartlandsignal.com. And we look forward to continuing the conversation in just a moment. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk and
Or
Pete.
Pete.
No detours, no distractions. Just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining me as we continue our. Well, now you're not just joining me, you're joining me and my guest, Jesse Rojo, who is the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy for Clearbook. One second, there's your microphone. What was that?
Howdy there, folks.
Hello.
You gotta be nice to the people. Give them a shout out.
Exactly. Hey, everybody. So what are some of the things that you would like? So I just got a text from somebody who wants your contact information, actually.
Yeah, of course.
I got a personal text. I need this guy's, there are people who are going to want to know how to contact
I'm
you
okay
because
with
they have people in their lives that they care for, that they want better for. How do they get involved?
Well, first, please visit clearbrook.org/advocacy. Sign up for our advocacy network. As we go into next year, start doing legislative site visits, having a legislative breakfast, putting together a fall advocacy campaign, asking for the governor to properly invest in these services in his budget address into next year, and then many work after that in 27. I want you guys alongside me. If you want to reach me directly, though, please please email me at jrojo@clearbrook.org. I've shared many emails many a time, so if you have another email for Jesse Rojo, email me there and I'll get back to you on my Clearbrook email. But again, if you want to get to connect me with or get in connection with me, there we go, jrojo@clearbrook.org, or just go directly to clearbrook.org/advocacy.
So part of the work that Clearbook does is helping folks understand how they organize and communicate with their legislators too. Is that right?
No, it's advocacy training, and really one of the most beautiful things is we train the clients themselves. I mean, it really goes back to, what was that book, Rules for Radicals, right? The idea of community organizing is you organize the community most impacted, most aware of injustice to fight for justice. That is the model of Clearbrook's advocacy. We literally, earlier this month was meeting with our own clients at our one of our sites and being able to get them through a training around public talking and doing so quick and to the point and with energy. And it's beautiful because I could see the difference it makes for them, the confidence it builds. And frankly, it helps me as well because I've got a lot of things to learn and they're teaching me plenty. That and they check my confidence sometimes. I still remember one day, speaking of that 5K I mentioned, the one on September 19th, I remember one of the clients mentioned that, and then one of the other clients pats his belly and goes, "Don't worry, you don't have to run. Folks like us can just walk it." And I'm just like,
boy.
I'm a fluffy guy, so I understand that right there. It was lovely. It was a moment of common connection, you know, but that's what is foundational to this work.
I do want to let our listener from the 630 know that per your enthusiasm, Jesse has run for office. They wrote Jesse should run for office. And
thank you.
Well, you did. Well, here's the thing. I've talked to folks before about different races. Mm-hmm. And like there's one race in the area that folks have asked similarly. They've said, run for this, right? Yeah. And you ran for state representative, as have I. And the thing is, I knew that was my in my skill set, right? Running for alder, not necessarily. It's a different job.
It's a different job.
It's a different job. Yeah. And believe me, I would love to make $150,000 a year. I mean, like that ain't plus a pension. Are you kidding? I'm just saying. However, at any rate, running for office, I mean, whatever drives us into the arena, there are things that we bring. And then if we find an area for you, it's advocacy. It is, being a champion for all these important issues, whether it's for veterans, people with disabilities, because I've known you for previous exchanges with the early intervention organizations.
Yeah, many work. But
yes.
No, really, the one thing I was just telling you this, I ran for office because of a very clear, what I call end game. I wanted to pass bold policy in a unifying manner, not just because I really believe we need to bring communities together, but by doing that, we're able to implement legislation better. Passing legislation is awesome, but when it's actually felt by families, when it's actually felt by people and making a difference, that's what matters. And that's what appealed to me so much about Clearbrook. I'm just going to repeat myself again. This is a silent crisis, right? We don't need to persuade people. We need to make people aware of how much of a difference this funding goes, of how much it can actually fundamentally change people's lives and let them reach their potential. And in doing that, actually, my goodness, show that government can work and it can help people. And I don't know, it aligns with my end game vision. And I don't have to be involved in politics, which is just no fun. I did not quite enjoy that whatsoever.
I mean, look, I endured it. I endured, well, because, I mean, let's not get into the details of my race. The audience needs that in drips and drabs, and I'm not drabbing right now. But, you know, it was worth it to me, to your point, to want to be in the spaces where decisions that affect families, including those that are similar to mine, caring for someone who will need the support of the state, because the state, I agree, can do good things. I mean, that's one of the things that we learned from FDR on, I think, in the infrastructure, and even beyond, before that. And I'll talk about that in the second hour, because we have a historian on. Here's the geek hat that I wear. I, as an undergrad at the University of Illinois, I did a thesis on the welfare system of South Carolina during the Civil War. So for a state that is very much like pull yourself up from the bootstraps, they were like, well, we want to win this war, so pay the broads. So, I mean,
because when we lift up our more vulnerable, we're lifting everybody else up. I mean, literally, look at supported employment. So that's it for people who aren't aware. One of the advocacy priorities that we have is creating a supported employment tax credit, incentivizing businesses to hire people with disabilities. Guess what? That means more people working. That means more tax revenue. That means another person living up to the potential. When we lift up everyone benefits. I mean, and it's really important to realize that, because guess what? You can't suddenly become Hispanic one day. You can't suddenly become whatever one day. You can become disabled like that. Anyone can.
Correct.
And that's why we have to do this, because if you just put that, historian here, veil of ignorance, I think is what it's called. You want to create a society where if you do not know how you're going to be born, it benefits everybody. That's what happens when we invest in our disabled community, our IDD community. We make it so that everyone is better off, and that is just good for everybody. And that's why we have the unifying capacity that we do with this advocacy work.
I appreciate that so much. And it's funny, you just echoed the language I was telling you earlier when we were talking about doing the show today. When I went to Springfield in 2015, Senator Dan Katowski, who's now the executive director of Kids Above All, he stood on the floor of the Senate chamber and said, when you invest in people, you save lives. And that is true across the board. And when we're talking about people with disabilities, we're not just talking about the individual themselves. We're talking about their caregivers and their community. When you have somebody who can fully participate, be at church, go to your restaurants, go to your small businesses, go to your coffee shop, like all those things, because otherwise you it's very easy for a family like mine to say, you know, we're just going to stay home and do everything here. We'll cook for ourselves. We won't go anywhere. Because we can't. Because
benefit anyone.
It doesn't benefit us.
You guys as a family.
It doesn't benefit us, and it doesn't benefit the community. We are not putting our dollars in our neighborhoods, into our sales taxes. So if that's what conservatives need to hear, and the other part of that is when you invest in, you and I talk about early intervention a lot. When you invest when a child is most likely to be able to reach their potential in those first 3 years, if we have to talk to that base,
when you invest in early intervention, you significantly reduce the likelihood of needing special needs or special education, which is just high. It costs so much more. We have community-based programming. It is significantly, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but it's something like 250% less than institutional care. This is not just better for the clients, not just better for their family, it's better for society, and that's not taking into account what I was saying earlier, which is when we lift up those who are most vulnerable, we're lifting everybody up.
I agree completely. Jesse, how do folks, because you've mentioned before, do you have, the advocacy days are generally in the spring. I don't want to wait until spring to say, let's get ready. Okay, this is what I want to do. I told you a little bit about some of my thoughts on other ways of getting down to Springfield. I fully believe whether you're going to go down with organizations like Clearbrook, or if you just want to go to Springfield, I want to do field trips because everyone, families like mine, families like everyone's, regardless of what their situation is, whether it's you're worried about affordability for your housing, whether you're worried about your health care, whether you're worried about education for your child, we need to be in our state capitals. We need to be in our state electeds' offices telling them our stories because they will otherwise make decisions without our input. Make them accountable. Make them see you at the grocery store. Make them see you at the playground, that you were in their office And I'm not saying be
Get
confrontational.
awareness, though.
Yes.
Again, especially with this, when it isn't necessarily having to persuade somebody, but just having to make them aware of it. It's just getting that attention. And so you ask me, what should somebody do? Because again, in 2027, post-budget address, I'll give you witness slips and all of that. Again, go visit clearbrook.org/advocacy. You'll get all this information. But for right now, going to the fall, what we're going to do is actually have a relatively unique strategy. In case people don't know, some background information. In February is the budget address. That more or less dictates what is going to happen or is not going to happen.
Where
right?
our morals are.
Yes, exactly. So right now, we're actually going to start expanding this advocacy network. Again, clearbrook.org/advocacy. I'll keep mentioning it. And then in not too long, I would assume maybe about 2 weeks, we're going to launch an effort to send emails directly to the governor's office asking for him to just invest as much as possible in these programs: early intervention, DSP wages, mental health, SILA funding, supported employment, et cetera, so that before he has the budget address written, he has that in mind. And honestly, as we close out, I'm just looking at the time right now. If you're asking yourself, why should I care? Because I get it, guys. If you're not motivated right now, I get it. Again, I said this earlier. We have an economic crisis. We have a climate crisis, a political crisis. We have so many problems. So if you're asking yourself why, my answer is simple. Because if we can't protect our most vulnerable, can we question people's faith in institutions? But if we can make it so that person isn't defined by their disabilities, but instead are able to live up to their potential, if we can invest in early intervention, if we can invest in mental health, if we can support our DSP workers, if we are able to lift everyone up to benefit everyone, we can show that there is still the capacity to do good. We can show that there is still the capacity to bring people together.
I feel like I should have like a round of applause for you.
I'm pretty sure you had a button there, but all right.
The crowd goes wild.
Why, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse Rojo, Public Policy and Advocacy for Clearbook. Go to clearbook.org/advocacy.
Yeah, or just clearbrook.org. Find out more about this organization. There's so much I didn't share. We serve over 8,000 clients, 160 communities. We do some good work. Join us in making sure we can advocate to do more good work so we can build up these folks.
Well, look forward to having you back, my friend. We'll take a break here.
Always.
When we come back, we're going to have Peter Jenko, Democratic State Central Committee person, 11th Congressional District of Illinois, and candidate for State Representative, 69th District. In a moment, you can go to PeteForIllinois.com to learn more about his campaign. We'll be right back after this on WCPT 820. Sorry, go ahead and say goodbye.
Oh, I'm just saying, take care, folks.
Excellent.
Hey, you got to give them their credit.
That's right. More after this on WCPT, KKNW, and of course, everyone tuning in digitally. Hey, everyone.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Great news for those Chicagoans heading up to southern Wisconsin. Should you ever forget to load up on progressive brews from the local favorites like Rogers Park Provisions or Park West Liquor in Lincoln Park, Minocqua Brewing Company beer is now conveniently available at Dream Liquor and Cigar in Kenosha and in the Lake Geneva area at Delavan Liquor and Smoke in Delavan. If the great town of Madison, Wisconsin is your jam, please remember to swing into the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room at 2927 East Washington Avenue to grab some Resistance beer, pizza, t-shirts, and progressive camaraderie.
From city streets to political beats, you're driving it home with Patti Vasquez, where progressive talk fuels the ride.
Thank you so much for joining as we continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle. Hello to all of our friends tuning in digitally on Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Please hit that subscribe button. What do the kids say? Smash that subscribe button and share with your family and friends so they can join the conversation too. And we encourage you to join us at heartlandsignal.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, listen to our podcast, and catch the story that our newsroom catches that shape our democracy. And speaking of our democracy, joining us in studio is Peter Jenko, Democratic State Central Committee person, 11th Congressional District of Illinois, and candidate for State Representative 69th District. Peter, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, and thank you so much for having me out here today.
I appreciate it. So tell me a little about yourself. Where did you grow up, my friend?
Actually, I grew up in Chicago.
You did?
Yeah.
What part?
Lincoln Park area, Lincoln, Fullerton, Halstead.
Where'd you go to high school?
Lane Tech.
Hello, class 89. All right. Well, so cool. So did you, what was your favorite shop class, my friend? You had to take shop. I had a wood shop, machine shop. Yep.
Yeah, I know. I had them all. Yep. I would have to say probably electric shop.
Yes. You didn't have Mr. Woss, did you? WOS? Do you remember your teacher?
Yeah, I don't. Because
But do you happen to have any of the things that you made from Lane Tech?
Yeah, I do. A few things.
We're pretty proud of those things.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It was a great technical school.
Oh, I had wood shop too, and I actually made a Art Deco type table, or not, more MCM than I guess Art Deco.
What? Do you still have that?
No.
No. I bet you it's worth money now, is all I'm saying. It was a great school.
Oh, I know.
What made you decide to move from this wonderful city to the beautiful area of McHenry County?
I was actually born on a farm, and something just kind of said, go back to my roots, you know?
Sure.
We were having kids, and we thought, oh, you know, we got 10 acres on the Kishwaukee River.
Well,
and I mean, what a place for kids to grow up. So, you know, my son actually built a tree house fort out in the woods, you know, and all his friends used to come over, and they'd do Robin Hood and all kinds of crazy stuff out there.
That sounds almost magical. It sounds like you had a wonderful time with your family and raising them in McHenry.
Yeah, I mean, it's idyllic for a kid.
Yeah. Have you always been involved politically? Was you growing up in Chicago were you on student council at Lane Tech?
No, actually, no. I was out busy, you know, protesting, and you know that. I mean, we're talking about late '70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
You were one of the classes that had the first girls in the school.
No, I think
early.
I graduated in 1970, and I'm not sure what year.
Get out of here. I would not have guessed that. Seriously, I thought later in the 70s. All right, so you were before the girls were at the school.
Yeah, and then I went to Wright College, and then I went to Northeastern.
Oh, my God. Come on. I feel like we're on a parallel track here. So I went to Lane Tech. Well, I went to U of I. I took my summer school because I wanted to finish faster at U of I. I went to Wright Community College and took classes there. It was a great school.
Oh, yeah, it was. A lot of people don't appreciate it to this day.
Yeah, and my mother graduated from Northeastern Illinois University. So I kind of feel like, when were you at Northeastern, just out of curiosity?
Mid to late 70s.
Yeah, I was 1,000% there. Do you remember have you been there lately with like the track and all the athletics field? That used to be, remember those old mansions that were behind Northeastern back in the 70s? Do you remember it all?
No, vaguely, but I remember the track fields and stuff.
Yeah, so I was at daycare and day camp and preschool at Northeastern Illinois Universities. It's a great school as well. You went to these gems of the Midwest, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love that. And so you were involved in protesting. Tell us a little about that in the 70s and what you were engaged in.
Well, I would say that my first real experience is I went out with a couple friends, and we kind of witnessed the 68 Democratic Convention firsthand. And it was quite an experience, and it stayed with me. And I guess you could say, you know, it created an activist out of it, you know, seeing everything that's wrong.
Well, that's the thing, is that that's incredible, because you were only, 15, maybe 16 years old when you were at the Democratic Convention, seeing how people were being treated when we were fighting for civil rights.
Either 15 or 16. I don't remember exactly.
Well, that's incredible. Well, what inspired you to go to see what was going on at the 68 National Convention?
Curiosity more than anything else. I mean, at that time, we weren't really into, politics.
Sure.
You know, we were more
you're 15. Why would you be? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you were curious about what was going on, and that changed you.
We were involved too. And I remember at that time, I would call them rebel priests. They were holding these things in the basement. You know, we would go and do the rallies. And what was so interesting is now we have all this social media. But during that time, how we found out about the protests is you had a list of 5 people to call. So you got to call, you know, be at Grant Park tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and you know, for this protest, and then you just get on the phone, and we just had a network. Yeah, you know.
Incredible. So when did you get more involved? What led you to run for Democratic state? Well, let's go. I feel like we're missing a lot in between. So when you were a student at Lane Tech, and I went to Wright College and Northeastern, and what did you study at Northeastern?
Oh, physics and psychology.
I'm sorry. So you like facts and science and stuff that is attestable and having a theory and proving it, right? Yeah. So what did you end up doing with those studies?
Well, I ended up going to a consulting firm. At the time, it was Ernst & Ernst, and now they're Ernst & Young, headquartered in London. And so I did spend a lot of time writing reports, marketing research, and that's how I know how to do these papers. But back in those days, you know, we didn't have the internet to go do research on. We'd have to go to the libraries, you know, and pull out newspapers and microfiche all that kind of stuff. So it's a whole different world, and it's a lot easier these days to find out what's going on.
Yeah, as a historian, I wrote my dissertation, my thesis in 1992, and I remember I think my eyes are still recovering from those microfiche.
Oh, I know. I still have one in my garage, the microfiche machine.
You have a reader in your garage?
Yeah,
Come on. Well, now I know where to go when I have anything.
And it's in perfect condition. It still works, and I got a whole box full of microfiches that were manuals, actually, service manuals.
Do people? Do you rent that out for people who want to see the original?
No, I just borrow it.
It seems like a service.
Yeah, where I got that from is I actually got into product design at Motorola. And when I first started there, all their stuff, their manuals, their service manuals were on microfiche. And then when everything went to computer, they just said, well, just take it all home. You know, we just want to get rid of it.
Yeah. So when did you decide, when, you were invested in what was happening culturally and politically when you were young? I mean, did that kind of survive while you were working and raising a family? Were you as engaged?
No. Actually, I got I got re-engaged when I got retired.
Okay.
So I figured I got a couple of more good years left to do something, rather than sit on the couch. I've always, ever since my early days, I've lived by this philosophy that you leave the planet better than when you arrive. And I work towards that.
Amen, my friend. We are talking to Peter Janko, Democratic State Central Committee person, 11th Congressional District of Illinois, and candidate for State Representative 69th District. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Illinois Care Initiative and some other elements that I know that you want to discuss with our audience. Again, you can go to PeteForIllinois.com. That's Pete for, the number 4, Illinois.com. And we will continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150. And hello to all of our friends tuning in digitally. We'll be right back after this.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
No detours, no distractions. Just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150, and of course, everyone tuning in digitally, whether you're a live streaming viewer or listening to our podcast sometime in the future. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you are online, please consider subscribing and sharing with your family and friends so they can join the conversation too. And if you listen to the show regularly, you know that I am often beating the drum of how important it is to find a path forward when it comes to healthcare, whether it's cost or accessibility. And joining me in studio is our guest, Peter Janko, who's Democratic State Central Committee person, 11th Congressional District of Illinois, and candidate for State Representative 69th District. And we want to talk a little bit about this organization called the Illinois Care Initiative. And, I've talked to legislators, I've talked to state reps, as a matter of fact, a group that you are seeking to join. And what they have told me is that in Springfield, Peter, that there's no energy behind really reforming healthcare. I mean, from my own state representative in this district who I ran against, because Lindsay LaPointe said there is no energy in Illinois, in the capital, for really moving forward with a comprehensive healthcare plan.
Yeah, that's kind of my observation too. I've seen a number of really good healthcare reforms, but to me, those are reactionary. Mm-hmm. In other words, they're putting a Band-Aid on a wound that pops up.
Yes.
And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to the bottom of all of our actual problems as they exist, and I don't want to just do that in one area. I want to make sure we get the snapshot of the entire state so we know how the priority of what we need to fix, and then look into what we can actually do at the state level that doesn't conflict with, federal regulations and CMS and ERISA or anything else. And I'm finding out there's actually quite a bit that we can do on our own.
Yeah.
And I just want to charge up the troops and get this going and try and get all you listeners out there to kind of get involved, tell your stories, okay?
Yes.
We started a Facebook group and a page, and part of making this process work is we need your stories, okay? Your stories are very individual, and engagement is everything, because if we're not out in front where our legislators can see us, where our governor can see us, nobody's going to do anything about it.
That's what I've tried to argue for years. And I know that it can be daunting, don't you think, for people to go into their legislator's office. This is why I just told Jesse this in the last segment. And what I've told my listeners, I want to do a field trip to Springfield so you can hear how they talk about you when you're not in the room, because they don't expect you to show up in Springfield or in their office or sending them an email or calling them, do they?
No, they don't. And as a matter of fact, the current process is kind of backwards, because the way it works now is the legislation is a negotiation between the legislators and the lobbyists for the industry. And my feeling, this is personal, is that when these negotiations happen, okay, the insurance companies, the pharmaceuticals, they're giving up what they can give up to look good, okay? It's not necessarily everything that we can get out of them as far as what benefits the people, right? And my thing is we need to push a little bit harder on them. And part of these listening tours is to find out people from the industry, you know, that know how the sausage is made, and get them to be our experts on our side so we know how far we can push on legislation that we need. And the other thing is we're just not being tough enough, right? And the one thing that I keep getting told is when we do this back and forth, the legislators and the lobbyists, okay, if we push too far, they say, well, we're going to leave Illinois. And my attitude is, you know what? Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yes, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, is my idea.
Right, okay, that's even better.
Yeah.
But I was told not to cuss.
Well, because the cussing is implied, my friend.
Yeah.
I agree. If we're beholden, because if you're beholden to powerful people to do the right thing, then you will be beholden to them to do the wrong thing.
Exactly. I mean, the other thing, too, is what a lot of people don't realize is we have the 5th largest healthcare economy in the United States. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going to give up that business. We could push much harder, and that's what we should do.
When I ran for state rep, one of the things I talked about was transparency in pricing. And even since then, it's gotten even worse for me in understanding how our health insurance companies work. And you know, in the state of Illinois, we have the ability to legislate. So I had to have surgery I was supposed to have it done in 2019. And the hospital called me and said, your part of this surgery is going to be $4,500, even though I had the PPO, the highest I could pay for, because I have an adult son with disabilities. I pay for the whole kit and caboodle. And I was like, I go, well, I can't have the surgery then. And I called the doctor's office, and I said, here's what they've told me. I said, how much, if I had this surgery and I didn't have insurance, how much would it cost me out of pocket? How much would it cost me to pay in cash? They said $9,000. So my part of a surgery with healthcare and coverage would be $4,500. And I asked why, and they said because they don't recover all of their costs, that they bill the insurance company $60,000 so they can get that $9,000. But the insurance company then bills me $4,500 because of the $60,000 cost.
Oh, I know. It's totally ridiculous. But that reminds me of another situation that we have. So I'm all for Medicare for all. I have been since 1996, okay, when my son got sick in Germany. And I saw firsthand there's a better way. But I'm also looking at all of these big national organizations like National Nurses United and even Illinois Single Payer Coalition. And what they do is they parade these really horrific worst case things in front of us. And, you know, I studied psychology, right? And after a while, you get numb to it and you go into denial. You know, you say, well, that extreme is never going to happen to me, right? And so I think what they need to do is focus more on everyday stories. And if we have time, I'll tell you one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So right before Bernie's big appearance at Navy Pier a couple of years back, I took a fall face first on my driveway. My driveway has probably a 30% incline, and I'm walking up, and my feet go out from under me. I go face first into the asphalt.
Oh, no.
So I go to our urgent care, the closest one to me, because we're told, well, you know, you don't want to get stuck with an emergency room bill, right? Because we know what happens there.
Yeah.
So I go to the urgent care. They took a look at me, and they said, no, we can't. That's way too serious, okay? Go to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room that's in my network. And so they stitched me up fine, and they said, okay, in 2 weeks, have your stitches taken out, right? But they didn't exactly say where I should, okay?
Yeah.
So I went back to the first urgent care, which is close to my house, and they asked me who put those stitches in, right? Oh, and I said, you know, Northwestern Medicine and Emergency Health, you know, so well, they put them in, we can't take them out, you know. So that's probably a liability issue, right? They're afraid of getting sued, right? So then I'll go to Northwest Medicine's urgent care in Crystal Lake, you know. And they said, oh, no, you got to go back to the hospital. I said, well, you're in the same network. I'm willing to pay cash. Just take these stitches out because next week, you know, I'm going to see Bernie as a state central committeeman. I'm in the VIP section. The camera's going to, you know, and I don't want to look like Frankenstein with knots coming all out of my face, right? So anyway, out of desperation, I had a week left. You know, I talked my wife, Nancy, who's kind of watching us, into taking them out.
Oh, my God. Okay. Poor Nancy. Hi, Nancy.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but she's a veterinary technician, so she's taken out stitches before on cats and dogs and all kinds of other
She's
stuff.
like, my husband's good as a dog. I can do this.
Well, she didn't want to do it. You know, I had to bribe, right? I forgot what it was. I either had to do a dinner or a spa or something, you know. But
nice.
And I was thinking about sending that bill, you know, to the insurance company, say, well, this is part of getting stitches out. And I'm just wondering if they would have reimbursed me.
Yeah, really. And that's the thing, is that often it's personal experience that propels us into spaces like this. And I want to thank you for taking on not just the challenge, but also, you know, to want to give back to your community and represent folks. Again, we've been talking to Peter Jenko. It's PeteForIllinois.com. Clearly passionate about your ability to afford health care, to have transparency, to have access, to have some logic in your care is what we're fighting for. And we need people like him in places like Springfield. So I appreciate you joining us today and sharing your story, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for having me out here today. I mean, it really, really means a lot because I want your listeners, your viewers and everything to really get energized and understand how important this is and to actually believe that we can create change. Because I believe we can.
I agree with you. Again, that's PeteForIllinois.com. And if you want more information about the Illinois Care Initiative, go to healthcareforillinois.com. That's healthcareforillinois.com. The Illinois Care Initiative, a citizen-driven framework for improving healthcare affordability, access, transparency, and sustainability. Thank you so much for all of this, and we look forward to having you back.
Well, thank you. I look forward to coming back.
Absolutely. More after this on WCPT, KKNW, and everywhere digitally.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Bring it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, and of course, all of our friends tuning in digitally, including Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Please consider subscribing. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath because I was running around. We had our last guest from the last hour, and I wanted to show him out, but then I also was like, okay, I have to take care of some things before I go back on the air, so trying to pace myself. Hey, everybody. It is a beautiful day in Chicago. I'm super jealous that I didn't get a chance to go to Springfield for our state fair, as well as the Women's Professional Baseball League. I'm still trying to find a date to go see one of the games, and we're going to partner with the Springfield Tourism in the weeks and months to come. They are a part of Route 66, which Route 66 turns 100 years old I think it's November. And, you know, we talk a lot about like all the roadside attractions and all the places you can see and, you know, taking a family trip and things like that. I feel like we should get some guests on and talk about what that infrastructure looks like and how it has been supported by programs that invest in our community. So I think we should talk about that too. There's a great book called Aprons Away that has the history of the women who have worked for decades along Route 66 in so many different ways, whether they're politicians, whether they are waitresses or business owners. And really, there's so much incredible history at every level along Route 66, and one of those stops, of course, is in Springfield. I still want to do a field trip to Springfield where we can meet with our legislators and maybe connect with, again, watching some great baseball at Robin Roberts Field, where this is the inaugural season for the first time in over 50 years of the Women's Professional Baseball League. Actually just watched a League of Their Own for my birthday with my family. The rule in our house is that if it's your birthday, you pick the movie. And because it's a little bit hard for us to go out, like whether it's to a restaurant or to the theaters, because my son Declan, it's just not necessarily something he's interested in. So if you have someone in your life who it's just a little more, I often say challenging, but it's challenging because the environment that we have is, of course, for the majority of people who don't have accessibility requirements or needs, whether it's a ramp for a wheelchair or room in a restaurant where you can fit a wheelchair, or, where people aren't staring at you because your loved one maybe behaves differently in different spaces, especially when you have all the noise and the energy of a restaurant. I remember when the boys were little, I don't know that I have ever taken Declan to a movie theater because Declan just doesn't stay still. And so and it's not just because I worry about whether or not everybody else is enjoying themselves. I just generally don't think Declan would enjoy sitting in a movie theater. It's not his thing. So why would I put him through something because I want to do it? It has always been kind of the way we operate. We were talking in the last hour with our friend from Clearbrook, Jesse Rojo, who's the director of public policy and advocacy for Clearbrook. And we were talking about supports for families that have and care for someone with a disability. And when people stare at my son, and for those of you maybe tuning in for the first time or haven't heard me update stories about my son, because I go quiet sometimes private with my private life. Like today, for example, for the first time in a long time, I posted sort of a more personal story on my personal Facebook page. I do encourage you to follow me on Instagram. It's The Patti Vasquez Show. And on Facebook, The Patti Vasquez Show, as well as I believe on TikTok and those spaces. And those are platforms where I now kind of come with stories that are in the news, and I have to pace myself because I can't be like, I've got to put the story on. I don't have that bandwidth right now. My mother is 91 years old, and my son Declan is 21. My other son, who just finished college and is also living with us for now, is 23. And so putting my time and energy into social media, I'm very selective with that. So I have I'll have a whole bunch. And I kind of think of it, Lady B, as having a season. Like this is season 1. And now I'm on hiatus, right? I can't, I know there are people who post every single day. They have millions of followers. Let me say this. I am so grateful for the people who follow me. We have almost 40,000 on the Patti Vasquez Show page on Facebook. We post every single day, but it's not always videos. On Instagram, we have almost 11,000. And I'm so grateful that people want to hear what I have to say on those platforms. And more than anything else, the fact that so many of you tune in, message me, and I'm going to say that those of you who share your stories, whether, again, on the phone, on our text screen, you are such an integral part of this show. Now, when you are hateful and you take a situation where I talk about the vulnerabilities of my family, where you vaguely threaten Declan, where you weaponize the trauma of my survivorship as a rape survivor and my brother's murder as being I'm a homicide survivor, which I didn't even know was language that that identified my community. You are, I will say this, if you want to keep doing it, that's your prerogative. The fact that you generate fake numbers in order to keep doing it, I would say, because they do, this person who does this, who vaguely threatens my son, who repeatedly comes after me about my brother's death and my rape. I'm a survivor of childhood rape. When I was 3 years old, I was abducted and sexually assaulted and tied in a laundry bag and left in a basement. When you attack, like use those for your pleasure is all I can say is what you're doing on this text screen. Believe me, you are creating an energy that will surpass anything you ever have to offer to anyone in your life. You are beyond a pathetic excuse. If you think you are a Christian or if you think you are a good member of your community, I believe that you're in law enforcement because you are so visceral when it comes when I talk about making sure that those who are kidnapping people in our communities, when ICE agents are ripping people out of their cars, out of their homes, out of their workplaces, out of school functions, that you revel in that. When someone is murdered before us and you use words like comply or die, that those are the only choices available to us, not just as Americans or people that are in this country, but as human beings. To say that you are less than is just the nicest thing that I could possibly say about you and what the FCC will allow me to say. You have absolutely the amount of energy that you put into this, believe me, comes back tenfold for the work that I do and will continue to do. So go ahead, keep generating those numbers. Keep popping up your head like a worthless scumbag because we see you. And, I think we're at the point now where I think technology is enough to find out where those generated numbers are coming from. So keep putting it out there. Because I would hate to know that you would go. Here's the thing that's happened over the last 10 years. We pretended like you didn't exist, and now we know. And we should have been more, guess what? Awake. But now we're woke, and we got you in our sights when it comes to our energy. Yeah, I will. Because why do I lump him in with law enforcement? Because all he does on my screen is defend the actions of these thugs who are being trained to murder people in the streets. And he constantly, or they, I should not assume that they're a man, but I imagine so. The fact that they rejoice in the murders the murders of people, of human beings, of mothers, of fathers, of brothers, just people. The fact that they rejoice in that and say, well, they shouldn't have been here, and they keep trying to bring up these laws and they say as somehow it's justification. If you need a law to justify murder, just look at yourself in the mirror. I wouldn't want to look at you, believe me. At any rate, just wanted to get that off I'm feeling like venting. It's like somebody, like right before I come on the air, I have to tell you what it's like to be a performer. Because that's what, believe me, I'm not saying I'm performing this, but opening up a microphone to almost 500,000 people is a certain kind of energy that you have to protect. And so in some way, like everything that happened today, everything leading up into this moment, I have to bring you my best person. So anything that happens, whether it's with my family, whether it's like looking at my bank, right? Going, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills? Like that impacts me emotionally. So, right before I go on the air, like I was able to have a wonderful conversation with Jesse Rojo, who was my guest in the first hour, Director of Public Policy and Advocacy for Clearbrook. We were talking about the issues that are important to our families, people with disabilities and families who are worried about, what is going to happen to our loved one when we're gone, or with so much of the sort of supports, the programs that might be available. We don't know what's going to be like when we're gone. And so we fight now. We are here making sure that our love continues when we're gone, because we can't imagine anyone loving our child as much as we do and putting as much energy into their lives, into their safety as we do. And so when I do open this microphone, which I love doing every single day, I'm very protective of that energy. And there have been instances where, for whatever reason, I come into a conversation that denigrates the topics, the guests, and the conversations that I'm going to have. And I will not stand for it, whether it's on our text screen, whether it's in person. whether it's a phone call. And that's how and I'm saying this to you to tell you, I try very hard not to be confrontational in a moment. I try to be as present as possible for you. And it is something that I value, that I think is sacred. And I think that you should find the things that are sacred to you. What are you protecting? And that can mean looking at a story, whether you're scrolling or in a conversation. And I'm not saying be, aggressive. Believe me, my go-to is cheerfully aggressive. I let people know where someone has crossed the line, but let people find your boundaries, be aware of them. I think that's the thing. I find myself now having achieved the double nickels of knowing what my boundaries are. And my boundaries are protecting my mental space. Because my mental space, your mental space, is your most valuable piece of property. And when someone enters that private space, they need to know that. And for me, I just disengage it. I try to find the best way to go, look, that's not acceptable. And whatever language that is for you, but you have to, because you have to be available for everything else. They don't deserve that real estate. That is yours. And you get to protect that. We talk about, our property and someone coming into our homes without search warrants and all those things. Don't let them into your, my mental space is a no-fly zone. I will not allow you in my airspace. Let's take a break here and have a conversation with our friend Ellie Krug, the illegal trans woman, when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150 and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. Thank you all for being here. Lady B, I think I need some help with StreamYard because I have Jones' show open. Thank you.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
No detours, no distractions. Just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our conversation here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul. What was that? St. Paul. Thank you so much for joining us. And on the air with us right now is Ellie Krug, the host of The Illegal Trans Woman. Ellie, how are you doing today, my friend?
Hey, Patti, thanks for having me back.
Of course.
Thank you so very much. I'm really thrilled to be back talking to you. I'm sitting outside on a patio in Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
Oh, my God.
I'm in the middle of I'm on mile number 3610 of a 4,700-mile road trip across the West and the Pacific Northwest. So,
have you been? We'll get to my thing in a minute. But have you been to Steamboat Springs before?
Yes, this is a home of my best friend since in life. We'd been best friends since 8th grade. He was the 8th grade quarterback. I was the frontline guard on the football team.
Well, tell us about that journey. I mean, because I know you've mentioned it before on the show, because there are folks who are inflexible mentally, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Well, so this has been both a recreational as well as a speaking tour. And so I started out a week ago Sunday from Minnesota, where I live, heading west. And the trip intentionally took me to Idaho, where I spoke in Idaho Falls and then in Boise, several times in Boise. And then eventually it took me to Sonoma, California on Monday, where I spoke as well. And I'll tell you something. I want to juxtapose what you just talked about and about this trip, okay? First of all, my heart goes out to you about what you were saying. And secondly, I respect the hell out of you because you are one badass woman who I admire with all my heart, okay? I admire you with all my heart. And I just love that you just are not afraid. But the juxtaposition I wanted to talk about is that you have notoriety, you have visibility in the world. And in one sense, that allows you to get your message out to 500,000 people, like you said. And thank God, because your voice is so incredibly important. Me, even though I have this radio show, titled The Illegal Trans Woman, okay, I'm just kind of this little player. And the little player part allows me to go to Boise, to go to Idaho Falls, to speak in a red state without being noticed. Okay. I mean, I spoke at a couple of churches and I spoke at a human rights center in downtown Boise, but it allowed me to go there, do my work around human inclusivity, around trying to teach people how we all have good hearts. I've titled this a Good Hearts Road Trip. But if I was more visible, I would not be able to do that. Okay. Because it would attract a bunch of negativity.
That's such a good point you're making. Yes. Yeah. I get it.
So there's a part of me that's like, hey, I have this great message about how I believe that, we care about each other far more than what anybody thinks, notwithstanding what you were talking about a minute ago, which broke my heart, but made me admire you even more, which I didn't know was possible. Okay. But this thing about me being able to come under the wire and then do my work, because, 5 of the talks in Boise were about human inclusivity, about how, teaching a tool set on how we can be good to people, how to get past othering of other humans.
Sure.
It's not necessarily transgender focused. It's all human focused. But if I was more visible, I wouldn't be able to go to those places because there'd be people protesting outside about this transgender person coming to Idaho, mucking things up for us. So,
yeah. Let's muck it up. I think that's going to be my next shirt. Let's muck it up together.
Love that. I do.
Yeah, because that's the thing is that, and when you use the word, I mean, when we talk about mucking it up, for me, like, if I had a visual in my mind, it is that getting in the cogs of the energy of intolerance, of the, of othering, essentially, right? Marginalizing.
Yeah. Well, and for my work, even though the workshop's gray area thinking are not about transgender people, the important thing is that I'm standing in front of rooms with, for the most part, straight cisgender folks, and I'm a transgender woman doing the work. And what it does is it helps to normalize my community. It helps to, because for many people, I'm the first transgender live person they've ever met, and of course the appearance doesn't match the voice, and we got that issue and all that stuff. But in the end, they walk away after 2 hours of this workshop appreciating how humans actually have good hearts.
Right.
The majority, not everybody. You've centered on some that don't, but also walking away thinking, hey, you know what? She's all right. I could get past the voice not matching the appearance, and I kind of like her. And what that does is, I hope, pave the way for the next transgender person who comes along to maybe make it a little bit easier for those folks to accept who follows me.
Right. And I appreciate that. I was talking to what I think a lot of folks, when we have these conversations, are often looking for some are immobile in their, they're not, I was saying this, intellectual flexibility is part of what I think makes a progressive. Right. Because here's the thing, you're talking about just being in front of a person and going, OK, I understand why we all just need to adapt and invite and include everyone. Right. And there are people who are not emotionally, intellectually, mentally, with all the things. They're not flexible. And that's not permanent. It doesn't have to be permanent. It's a choice to be permanently inflexible. Yep. Right. And the hard part is then we're talking about science and what is it? I actually have a friend who I don't agree with necessarily politically. I'm not a fan of what I'm seeing of people in my circle. I was just mentioning Facebook and how I'm not on my personal page anymore. And so I popped in and I was so disappointed because in the wake of the WNBA, and Sophie Cunningham, I'm guessing about these conversations and Sophie making comments about trans individuals, people who are athletes. I guess there were a couple of guys who were like, I'm going to try out for the WNBA. And so an orthopedic surgeon that I respect in Chicago made an AI image of himself with a blonde wig, and he's going to try out for the WNBA. Right. And then encourage people who trust his expertise to be hateful and derogatory. Like, I was just like, oh yeah. Yeah, Daniel, I'll come for you. I don't care. But it's just it's like, why, they're so easily swayed by emotion, like just like that energy of everyone going, yeah, you're right. I love that photo. You look so hot. Like they just want that adrenaline hit of people who agree with them like Trump does. That's what it is.
Well, absolutely. But I mean, yeah, it's about othering people, it's about, and one of the ways that we're group identified people, we get engaged in group identified behavior. And one of the ways you create cohesion within your group is to other those who are out of the group. And transgender people, I'm sorry to report, are often the out group of just about everything these days. So, thank you for standing up for us. Of course, you are a wonderful ally. I've had you on my show before to talk about your incredible allyship for my community. I just gotta have faith. I do. And throughout this trip, I've just got to tell you, I mean, I met transgender people in Idaho, and I've just got to tell you the courage and the guts that they have to live in a state where the state is directly oppressing them, law after law, bathroom bill after bathroom bill. I met a group where they're creating what I'm calling, they didn't use this phrase, I'm calling a green book for transgender people.
Oh, yeah.
Like the green book that was going on during Jim Crow about places where African Americans could stay in the Deep South. They're working on creating a green book of places that have bathrooms that transgender people can use in Idaho. Can you I mean, God love them that they're doing that, but can you believe the ridiculousness about the need to have something like that in order to go live your life as who you are authentically?
It is such a challenging space. And also, I want to say for folks who, I just got corrected today about something that I said in regards to trans individuals. And sometimes I talk very fast and I don't articulate things the way I should. And here's the thing. I misspoke and someone corrected me. And the appropriate for me, what I aim for is to accepting being corrected instead of getting mad. And I feel like so many people spend time being angry about being corrected on language or I go, oh, you just go, oh, I didn't know that. I was mistaken, or okay, now I know. That's all you gotta say sometimes, folks, right?
Yep. No. And I'm a big believer in intent, so, I mean, obviously I get misgendered quite a bit. People call me sir, even though, I mean, let's face it, I do look like a fairly attractive blonde woman.
You do. I'm just going to say, you do. You're adorable.
With a nice bob. But when I know that the intent is good, I'm like, don't worry about it. It's okay. I mean, I got done with one of these talks and one of the attendees, as she's buying both of my books, misgendered me, okay? She was talking to somebody else about buying the books, and I'm just like, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You just sat through a 2-hour workshop with me. I know your heart is good,
right.
Which is, I didn't even correct her. I'm just like, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
And again, I appreciate corrections, and especially gentle corrections. I have been aggressively corrected, and that's a little more energy, but I still do it, and I'm there for it. Ellie, I've got to run, it looks like a beautiful day in Steamboat Springs. I want you to enjoy yourself. Are you gonna do you often go to the spring, like to bathe in the wonderful? Because I've been to Steamboat Springs. I'm not saying I went skinny dipping there, but maybe I did.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the Springs this year, but I made last year when I visited last year. Well, but yes, you can go skinny dipping in the Springs.
I have done that. It's very fun. Enjoy your trip. Safe travels, and we look forward to hearing how it all went when you wherever you are in your journey. Where should folks go for your show and for the work that you've done, including the novels, the two books that you've written?
So then go to elliekrug.com. They can find about all of my work and about my 2 books. And of course, I'm on KTNF, AM 950 in the Twin Cities, The Illegal Trans Woman. The show airs every Saturday at 3 o'clock Central Time, but you can also find the show podcast anywhere you get your podcast.
Excellent. Again, it's elliekrug.com, everybody. Thank you, Ellie. Have fun. I can see the trees in the reflection behind you, by the way. I'm super jealous. Love you. Bye-bye. Let's take a break
Bye-bye.
here. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Mike Biedenbaugh, author of Reviving Our Republic, 95 Thesis for the Future of America. More after this on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, KTNF AM 950, and of course, all of our friends tuning in digitally. Thank you.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Before we have our conversation, I need to tell you guys, we have a conversation with our good friend Mike Biedenbaugh, but I know a lot of you have been asking, and we have been listening. We have to open up the phone lines in just a moment because WCPT is proud to announce Riot Fest is back September 18th through the 20th at Douglas Park in Chicago, featuring bands like 21 Pilots, The Pixies, Iggy Pop, Tool, Afroman, Alanis Morissette, Elvis Costello, and many more. Tickets are still on sale at riotfest.org, but for one lucky WCPT listener, you will be going to all 3 days of Riot Fest on us every day this week. One listener will be entered into our contest to win a pair of 3-day passes to Riot Fest, and we will announce the winner on Monday, August 24th. But we don't want to leave anyone empty-handed, so all 5 qualifiers, that means you. If you call right now, you qualify for Riot Fest, and either way, you walk away possibly either with the Riot Fest passes or a $50 Let Us Entertain You gift card. Contest running on WCPT 820 are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. One entry per person, one winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking the contest tab. We are taking caller number 2. Hey, Lady B. We have, again, 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. And now that we've gotten through our very important announcement about Riot Fest, I do want to welcome our guest back to the show. Joining us right now on the line is Mike Biedenbaugh, author of Reviving Our Republic, 95 Thesis for the Future of America. He's a Navy veteran. I wonder if we have anything to talk about. And historic preservationist. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike. How have you been, my friend? And are you staying hydrated?
Yes, I am. I'm doing great, Patty. How are you?
Oh, you know, fascism is exhausting. So cheers, my friend.
Yes, it is. Yes. The vigilance, we must be vigilant.
Yes.
For a republic to work.
Absolutely. Okay, let's start with what I think is right now one of the most important things for people to be aware of, to understand how much this president is putting men and women in danger. I mean, putting human beings, putting the planet in danger. I mean, there's so many levels of stupidity. It's so deeply dumb what this president is doing. So talk to us about your thoughts in regards to the USS Abraham Lincoln and the fact that they have not had the opportunity to take care of, like to be at all treated as though they're not just service members, but human beings.
So I come at this with the perspective of being in the Navy. The Lincoln is a Nimitz class aircraft carrier. And when I was in the Navy in the 1980s, our ship, the USS South Carolina, escorted the Nimitz for 9-month cruise. We were out in the Mediterranean stopping and everything. And I never will forget the work that everybody did and the teamwork we felt. And all I can do was feel for these poor sailors who obviously understands that their chain of command above the captain and admirals over the fleet care nothing about them except using them as tools for their machismo, testosterone-filled agenda of being the toughest guy on the block. I mean, for Donald Trump, who got out of military service, had never even a sense that he owed this country anything for military service, saying just off the cuff they should be out there longer. It was so insulting. And
that was insane. Yeah,
it was insane. And how this man is allowed the room to say these horrible things. But this is not a surprise. Remember when they were talking about McCain and he said, you know, no offense, but I like people that weren't captured. That showed everything. Remember that?
This is what I'm saying.
Was absolutely absurd. And now our men and women who were dedicated, and listen, I've heard, of course, the herd of folks who follow whatever he says and justifies it, says, you know, that's the Navy, they need to be tough. Let me tell you something. When I was on the Nimitz, I actually drove it. I steered it for a while during flight ops in the Eastern Med, and a tiny little steering wheel. This huge thing with 6,000 people had a tiny little helm. And
wow,
the number of people, our ship had 600 people on it, 600 foot long, and it had displaced 10,000 tons. We had 600 people. The Nimitz had 6,000. It was a city. And the thing I realized was how impersonal it was, except for in your birthing area, because it was so big. And just the thought of the struggles these people are going through with lack of food. And the reason they have lack of food is because the Iranians have destroyed the supply depot stations around the thing. So, these people stepped into a cow pasture and didn't realize they had, they were going to step in nothing but cow pies. And that's, a little South Carolina country reference. But
we know cow poop. We live near Wisconsin. What are you talking about?
There you go. But it's horrific. I remember just a quick little story. We were over there during, if anybody remembers, the TWA plane that was hijacked in 1985. It was 85. And we were going off to the bed, and we were sitting with the Nimitz off of Lebanon. The TW plane was there. The Navy SEAL, the terrorists, had killed, executed them, and thrown them off the plane. That night, we woke up in the middle of the night. We're going in to rescue the hostages. And this thing just it was secret up until 20 years ago, and we can talk about it now. And the Nimitz and all of us were lined up, and we were headed in. I was at the helm. I could see the lights of Lebanon, of Beirut getting closer. And I had never felt the sense of mission. Everybody, people on that ship, you dislike, you didn't get along with people. Everybody were brothers that night.
Yeah.
And we were headed in to do our job. And then the Delta Force got stranded in Malta, and we had to call it off. And the next day, that's when all the hostages were scattered because they saw us coming in. But my point is, when you have a sense of purposeful mission, that's what the commander-in-chief owes the people in uniform willing to put their life on the line. And I felt it then. I felt how powerful it was. And we had good food on that ship, too. I mean, I could order eggs with ham and mushrooms. It was wonderful. They took care of us. They're not taking care of these people because of the pride of one egocentric administration that just wants to be the tough guy, and we're suffering for it.
I have thought that ever since the night. I mean, even before this, right? As you mentioned, when his reaction or his comments about John McCain and what he has been reported to have said about the military, that they're suckers and losers and all these things, whether or not they were drafted or lost their lives. The other thing is that when he attacked, when we invaded, Guatemala. Oh, no, sorry, not Guatemala. I'm just my brain. Venezuela. When he invaded Venezuela and was so cavalier about it, and I guess a lot of the conversation is whether or not he thought that Iran was going to be basically the same kind of action. But that night that he took a break from a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago, and in the middle of the night made the announcement that we had invaded Iran and said that men and women were going to die in service to our country, and was so once again more cavalier about it. Didn't, as you mentioned, give us a clear plan or even like just some sort of explanation. And this entire time has just been like, they won't negotiate with us. We're close to a negotiation. We're going to blow them up. We're going to wipe them off the planet. We're going to destroy their civilization. It has been just this whiplash of emotions, of information. It's wild.
Well, what it reminded me of was when I was in Russia, in Soviet Union, in 1990. When I went over there and lived there for a summer, I was learning Russian. And this was when Gorbachev was still in power. I was expecting Gorbachev to be overthrown. I figured the military would overthrow him because of Glasnost, what he was trying to do. I missed it by a year. But when I was there, the Russian people loved having me in the room. They were just so eager to open up over what they knew was a wrong government. That is where we were with Iran during the Obama administration, trying to work with them. If you remember, and everybody needs to go back and look at Rick Steves' visit to Iran. He did a special where he sat with people in their homes. He ate with them. Yeah. He talked to students. And these people were eager to have Americans be their heroes. If we would have had the same strategy with Iran, like we did the Soviet Union, containment, but work progressively and communicate our values without attacking them, Iran's government would have been overthrown ultimately. And it would have washed away ultimately. Might have taken 10 more years. We have now set it back 2 generations. You do not get
bare
people,
minimum. Yeah.
At minimum, you do not get people to fall in line and want to follow you while you're bombing their civilian infrastructure. It will not happen. There were walls in Iran warning people, America, a Statue of Liberty with a death skull on it, American flag where the stripes are the tail or the jet streams from bombs falling on Tehran. They have these murals everywhere. They were seen as nothing but propaganda and disregarded. Now they're not. And they have empowered the Revolutionary Guard and empowered this regime. It is the biggest catastrophic strategic failure our nation has ever done, ever. And we're going to pay the price for it for generations.
I want those words to rest with folks. Ever. The worst strategic decisions ever. And ever. I know that because, people get radicalized. If my child is slaughtered in their classroom by bombs, and then people lie and say that it was our own government, say that it was a fault, like that we had they were saying first that Iran had stolen those, was it Tomahawks, or they had, it was one of our bombs, one of our whatever missiles. I'm sure I'm using the language incorrectly, because I'm speaking from a place as a mother. If my child is killed, bombed into eternity by another government, the only thing I want for the rest of my life is to destroy that government.
Oh, absolutely. The problem was it was old intel that did used to be a military base. And I think 10 years ago, it was closed and turned over to a school. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm not sure if that timeline is right, but I know they used the old intel and just went for it. Yep. But they don't care. No. We've so demonized Islam in this state and turning it, what communist was in the 1950s.
And using communist again. It's communism now, apparently, because they don't even know what it means and what politics are. They don't. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right. They're resurrecting that back again. But the fact they're using Islam and Muslims as another demon that we need to be afraid of, and demonizing these people. People have to realize this is a 5,000-year-old civilization. These people understand negotiation and how to play chess and how to negotiate in a marketplace. And to say that we're going to destroy that civilization, Rome couldn't destroy that civilization. Alexander the Great might have burned Persepolis, but that nation came back strong. Iran is a great power in the sense of they know how to survive whatever happens to them, and we have handed them more power, the radical level of the part, more power than they ever would have had if we just would have treated them civilly, with respect, but with determination to help them get to the side to be allies. And they could have been if we just would have allowed it.
See, folks, this is why historians like me, Mike Beanbaugh, and myself like having these conversations, because it's, what do they say? It's a little bit like wrestling with a pig in the mud. After a while, you realize the pig likes it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I really enjoyed watching you laugh, by the way. Bring it. It is insane to me. And it also, there's so many things that when you talk, I wouldn't know necessarily the specifics of what happened to the hijacking of TWO led to it. I know more or less, the things that, have, reverberate throughout history. Like, even when we talk about the mass immigration of people coming from Latin America to the United States, whether it is climate or corporations buying up land, making it hard for people to be able to prosper in their own countries, right? We have Dole. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to add the ghost of the Dulles brothers and the CIA intervention with the United Fruit Company is reverberating in that peasant class and has so disenfranchised the indigenous people. Yes. My wife is at school teaching them as English as a second language in the elementary school here in Newberry County. She retired this year. Many of these children still speak Mam, which was the Mayan indigenous language. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're treated like dirt. These poor children come over here, and the biggest thing they have to teach them is when they go to the restroom, they have to flush the toilet paper, because there they had no plumbing. They put it in a trash can. Yep. So the trash cans are filled with soiled toilet paper that they have to teach them. Yeah. So this is all of these things reverberate from a past that happens. And until we learn to connect 20, 30 years ago, we'll never fix now. And what we're doing now will reverberate for the next 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I fear if God is a just God, because what has happened in Gaza, you do not destroy the lives of 13-year-old boys while they're holding their dead sisters that got crushed by a building falling on them, take away everything they have, and think you're not going to create a nihilistic, reactionary, hate-filled grown man. They think they're going to get rid of Hamas. They've just set the seed for 20-fold Hamases in 10 or 15 years. And it's something we have to reconcile with and realize we have a lot to face. And we have a lot to face here, which is why I wrote this book.
And
Reviving Our Republic.
Reviving Our Republic, which has recently been updated with new writing on Iran and has a new cover. And also you have an app available for folks, yes?
I am most excited about this. This is the most exciting thing. The app is Reviving Our Republic app. So what I realized in this day and age, that instead of trying to convince people to buy a book, put all the data into an app so that people can then click on the phone, click. And what it does an analyzing the news. And so if, say, Trump puts out a executive order, you could upload that executive order and it will rate it on a grade. Is it constitutional? Does it meet the standards of the Federalist Papers? What would Washington say based on his farewell address at what is being done? And what in the 95 Thesis, the 40 policy points, will repair whatever either damage or does disagree with? And it gives us a rating score. So it will say, oh, this is 70%, 76% constitutional. Here's why. Here's where it disagrees. And you have it immediately. We're also uploading the back end of news stories. Every morning, anybody that signs on will be able to get a push of 5 new things, state of the republic. And it'll take a news story and put it through the analyzing filter and say, is this making us better or worse?
Excellent. So that's Reviving Our Republic app. Is that right? I'm looking for it right now in my app store.
Well, it's not up yet.
Oh, well, then I can't find it. It's going to be up. All right.
We're in the middle of beta testing.
Okay.
But I wanted to mention it because I wanted everybody to realize it is coming out. If you go to our webpage, revivingourrepublic.com, it should be up on the webpage in probably a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to take a while for Apple to approve it to go on an actual app, which may take another 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
But the page will be there. This is going to be good. This is going to be able to build communities that can organize around action to make us better.
Excellent. That's revivingourrepublic.com. And if you're on that page, that means you'll get an update as well as when that app is available. But we would love to have you back to learn more and make sure that we're all able to download it when it's ready. Thank you so much, Mike Biedenbaugh. Again, revivingourrepublic.com. And we will talk to you very soon, my friend. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you, Patti. See you later.
See you later. Let's take a break here, and we'll wrap up with a phone caller show when we come back on WCPT, KKNW, and KTNF. Hello, everyone tuning in digitally. We're so glad you're all here.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
No detours, no distractions, just bold ideas and
we don't have time for all that. Hey, everybody, we're about to wrap up our show, but I wanted to make sure Jim got through. This is something I haven't even mentioned, Jim. What's on your mind, Jim, before we end the show?
Your rank and file Republican has to be delighted with the social cuts to the social structure of the United States, and also firing all the public employees, the CIA, etc. Their only problem is the dilemma that they have is the deficit's gone up $2 trillion since Trump taken office. So how does that compute? When you cut the social programs and you fire everybody in the government, why is the deficit skyrocketing? It went up $1 trillion this year. And here's the problem, Patti. I lived through, when the real estate boom. I don't know if different conversations were with relatives. Oh, my house is worth $4 million. This one's worth $2 million. Well, I said, there's something wrong with this. I told my sweetheart, I said, there's something wrong with this. This doesn't make any sense. I said, why are these joints certainly worth $4 million and $5 million and so on and so forth? But anyway, it went bust, and that was a lost decade.
Exactly.
Now, AI has borrowed $500 billion in our bond market and sent in the back market. It's costing us all money because our credit cards, et cetera, et cetera. The trouble is, if AI goes bust and Trump's all in on it, what happens? It's similar to Bush Jr.
Exactly.
Anyway,
thanks, Jim.
for taking my call.
Of course. Thank you for sharing that, Jim. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful evening. Love you, Lady B. Take care. Love you. Take care. Bye.